Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my rankings of the new college football coaching hires for the 2021-2022 coaching cycle. Before I continue, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to your channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. We're really trying to grow the channel. I guess this is the first video of our college football preview series. We're going to be doing a lot of videos come up here the next few weeks and months or so. Eventually getting to my playoff predictions and New Year's Six Bowl predictions and stuff like that. But I guess this is video one. So I'm gonna kick it off with I don't think we ever did this on this channel, ranking the new hires for these college football teams that decided to go out and get a new head coach, or were kind of forced to for one reason or the other. So let's get into it. 14 Power 5 hires. I ranked them 1 through 14. And gave each one of them grades, and then I'm going to mention a few group of 5 hires that I think you should keep an eye on. So let's kick it off. The grade, one hire got A+ from me, and that was USC, Lincoln Riley, coming from Oklahoma. I mean, what can I say? 4-time Big 12 champ, 55-10 overall, several college football playoff appearances. I think this is an A+ hire. I think this is a slam dunk hire that USC had to make. I think a lot of people sat there and said that USC had to make a big hire if they want to get back to relevancy. Because I mean, they weren't horrible under Clay Helton. They weren't like horrible, but they weren't like that good. They weren't that good. It was kind of up and down. It basically was. This past season was 4-8. But with Lincoln Riley, I think it's an A+ hire. I gave it an A+. And in my opinion, I'm sorry, I'm just changing the hand angle. I'm afraid my phone is going to slip out of my hand. I don't want that to happen. There we go. In my opinion, I just think that looking at this hire, I just like this hire. I really do. I like this hire a lot. And I gave it an A+. Number 2. Where Lincoln Riley came from, Oklahoma, I gave Brent Venables hire an A. This was one of the 2 hires I gave an A. He's never been a head coach before, but he's from the Big 12. He's originally from Kansas State. He was the DC at Oklahoma under Stoops, Bob Stoops. He was the DC under Bob Stoops for all those years. I think he's going to do well there. It might take a year or 2 to get the program going, but I think he's going to do well there. I really do. I'll go ahead, and I gave this hire an A. The next hire, I'm sorry guys about this camera. There we go. Okay, there we go. I need to get a stand or something down here, and I have one. I can set it up. Next hire, Brian Kelly. I gave this one an A as well. You look at Brian Kelly came from Notre Dame, made a few playoffs appearances. Never really got over the hump to win a national championship, but he is at Notre Dame. I gave it an A. He's 92-39 at Notre Dame. Overall, 263, 96-2. So he will receive his 100th loss at LSU, possibly this year, definitely by next season. But he's a great coach, Brian Kelly. Say what you want about him, about the fake accent draw, him dancing with recruits. Despite those recruits actually not going, backstabbing LSU, going to Alabama. But I like the hire. Brian Kelly, he got an A from me. 2 hires got an A-. The 4th best hire, in my opinion, was at Washington State, Jake Dickert. He was the intern there after that whole situation with Wolvick. He went 3-3 during that horrible, and trust me, it was a rough situation. Several coaches were fired because they didn't get the vaccine. Don't want to get political, but I'm sure everybody has their own thoughts on that. So he came in there, and I thought he did well under that situation. I really did, and he went 3-3. I like the hire a lot, and I'm glad they kept them. I'm really glad that they kept them 3-3. 5th place hire also got A-. Mario Cristobal at Miami. He went 35-13 at Oregon. He came from Oregon. 62-60 overall. You might ask yourself where all that rest of the record came from. He was at FIU for about 5 seasons before he went to Bama and then eventually to Oregon. He is a 2-time Pac-12 champ. I like the hire. I think he's going to recruit well. He'll be probably the best recruit Miami's ever had. I do question him some as an in-game coach. I do. But I do think he will bring Miami back to relevancy. I do think Miami will be a very consistent top 25 team at worst. I think they will compete for the ACC every year. I like Mario Cristobal. I like the hire. I place as the 5th best hire, A-. Now, those are all the hires that received A's. The sixth place hire, Brent Fry at Virginia Tech. I like this hire a lot. I'm kind of high on this hire. I know some people aren't as high on it, but I actually like it. I really do. He was the defense coordinator at Penn State. I honestly thought last year Penn State's defense was the only reason why they won some games at times, or even in some games. Never been a head coach before. I gave this a B+, primarily because he's never been a head coach before. But I do think he will succeed at Virginia Tech. I'll actually be a bit surprised if he doesn't. So Brent Fry at Virginia Tech. 7th place, Marcus Freeman. He is 0-1. He was technically he was the intern. I know he was given the job before the game against Oklahoma State. He lost the Fiesta Bowl. I gave it a B. I do think there will be some growing pains. Now, I do agree. I do agree that Notre Dame should have hired him. I do think they made the right choice of hiring him because he was going to be a head coach somewhere at probably one of the better programs in the FBS. If he was not hired by Notre Dame, it's very possible he's at one of the programs we're talking about that hired a new head coach. But I do think there's going to be some growing pains. I do. But I think he will succeed there. I really do. I just think there'll be some growing pains. He coached one game as a head coach. Only won with that against Oklahoma State, not really holding it against him. I like some of the things I saw in that game as him as a head coach. I didn't like some of the things I saw in that Fiesta Bowl game. But I gave it a B. The other hire I gave a B was Billy Napier at Florida. He went 40-12 at Louisiana. I will say this about the hire here at Florida. They did get their guy. This was Strickland, I think is the athletic director down there. This was the top guy on his list of coaches to get. So I will give Florida that. But, here's my problem with the Billy Napier hire. I do think he can very well succeed at Florida. I do. How long is it going to take? And is he that guy? He dominated. And the one red flag I do have about Billy Napier, and this might be a bit of a prisoner of the moment, he did go out and lose to Texas by 20 last year with a Louisiana team that a lot of people were picking to go ahead and win the Sun Belt, including I think I did as well. So I don't know. I don't know. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know. I'm not sold that he's going to succeed at Florida. I'm just not. I think it's a good hire, but I'm not sold he's going to succeed. So I gave it a B. I gave one hire a B-. That was Dan Lanning at Oregon. He was the Georgia DC. He is a championship defensive coordinator. He has won a championship, a national championship as a defensive coordinator there at Georgia this past season. I honestly don't know a lot about Dan Lanning. He was the defensive coordinator under Kirby Smart. And Kirby Smart is a defensive-minded guy, one of the elite defensive minds in the country. So I don't know what to think about this. He did come out and say he will only take a head coaching job if he thought that he can succeed there. And you can't succeed at Oregon, obviously. That's, to me, Oregon is like a top 15, top 20 job at worst. So in my opinion, I think it's kind of a middle-of-the-road hire. It might be a bit of an outside hire, honestly. But I do think he will succeed some there at worst. So I put it as a B-. Now the hires that were a C. I put 2 hires as a C. The first one was Duke's Mike Elko. He was the Texas A&M defensive coordinator. Never been a head coach before. He used to be at Notre Dame as well before he went to Texas A&M. I will say this about if you're a Duke fan watching this. A lot of people were surprised he didn't get a better job. And that might be a shot at Duke fans, but Duke's one of the worst Power 5 jobs you could have. I know Coach K is retired, but they're still going to invest in basketball heavily. So I gave it a C+, because I do think that comment, that primarily because of that comment, I think he will have some success there. We'll see, but Mike Elko, Duke head coach, I gave it a C+. I didn't give any higher straight out C. I did give a higher C minus, and that was Sonny Dykes at TCU. I actually think they downgraded, if you want my honest opinion. I gave it a C minus because he is above 500 coach. I do think he could go in there and maybe have some nice 8-win seasons. But I don't think, I look at his hire, I just don't see, if you're TCU, I think you need to make a hire that, to replace Gary Patterson, that you could position yourself to win the Big 12 once Oklahoma and Texas leave. I just don't see it in this hire. I think he will have some success there, as I said, but he's from SMU, 30-18. He kind of flamed out last year. 71-63 overall. He was at Cal. I think he was at Louisiana Tech, if I'm not mistaken, or Tulsa, one of the two. But I'm just not high on this hire. Washington's Kalen DeBoer. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He came from Fresno State, 12-6 overall there at Fresno State, 79-9 overall. He did win a lot in the FCS as a head coach. I gave it a D+. I think this is a outside the box hire. I know people are rave about this guy's offensive mind. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I think this is a reach. If you want my honest opinion, I'm not high on this hire. Maybe I hope I'm wrong about this, because college football is better when Washington's good, because they are one of the better programs in the Pac-12. But I just don't see this hire working out. It's just a good opinion of mine. I gave it a D+. So Kalen DeBoer there at Washington. At Texas Tech, Joey McGuire, D-. He was a Baylor assistant, never been an offensive or defensive coordinator. I think he was a defensive guy there at sorry, I'm just trying to switch the camera angle. My arms get tired after holding the camera straight up for like a few minutes. I gave it a D-, Joey McGuire, because he's never been a coordinator, and I think this is swinging for the fences, 3-2, 2 outs. I'm swinging no matter what. This is what this hire is, in my opinion. I look at Joey McGuire. I know he's been in Texas high school football forever. I think what Texas Tech's banking on is that he can recruit Texas well. I think that's kind of what they're banking on. I don't know what to think of this hire. I gave it a D-. I'm not high on it at all. So Joey McGuire there at Texas Tech, and then Tony Elliott at Virginia. This is the only hire I gave an F. And maybe I'm a bit of a prisoner of the moment, but the offense at Clemson last year was horrible. Say what you want. Say who you want to blame. Tony Elliott definitely deserves blame. He's calling the plays. This was the first. In my opinion, I definitely thought that Clemson's offense was horrible. He's never been a head coach before. And I was actually surprised he got a head coaching job, to be honest with you. Especially at a place like Virginia, where Bronco Mendenhall, he left. He decided to abruptly retire. He's left that program in a pretty good state. I'm just scared that Tony Elliott is going to come in and blow the whole thing up. I'm not high on the hire at all. I do think he will fail there. And I hope I'm wrong, if you're a Virginia fan watching this. But I do think he will fail there. So, I gave it an F. I'm just not high on that hire at all. So those are the grades 1 through 14, or rankings 1 through 14 I did by lower grades of the Power 5 coaches. A few group of 5 hires I want to talk about here real quick. We'll start off at Fresno State. Jeff Tedford, he had a lot of success there at Fresno State. He retired. He was forced to retire because of, I believe, of some medical issues, but it seems like those have fixed themselves. It seems like he has he's gone better. He moved past the medical issues, and he's back at Fresno State. I do think if I was ranking this coaching hire, I'll give it a solid A. I do think he's going to go into Fresno State, and he's going to do great things. Rhett Lashlee, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Lashlee, there at SMU. I think this is a great hire. He's going to score a lot of points there at SMU. I think he's a guy that a lot of people were surprised it took this long for him to get a head coaching gig. So I think I do think he might move on to the Power 5 pretty quickly. Jay Norvell at Colorado State. I do think he will bring Colorado State back. And let me reword that. I do think he will bring Colorado State back to making bowl games consistently. It comes from Nevada. He was getting them to bowl games consistently in Nevada. Colorado State, one of the better Group of 5 programs. Usually, I think he'll get Colorado State back to that standard. Joe Moorhead at Akron. I do think he will do some good things at Akron. I know it didn't work out in Mississippi State. And he didn't do bad at Mississippi State. He was making bowl games there, but I think it'll work out there. Clay Helton, he went to Georgia Southern. We'll see what he does there. I think in a conference like the Sun Belt, where breaking news about the Sun Belt, they'll bring in Marshall and JMU, and I think 2 other teams this upcoming season. So we'll see what happens there at down Georgia Southern. They're definitely a legit legit football conference down there in the Sun Belt. And then Jim Moore at UConn. This is the last one I'm going to talk about. It's interesting. It's an interesting hire. I think he's probably wants one more crack back at coaching at probably a pretty good Power 5 school like at UCLA where he was at, but not at UCLA. And this was probably his feeling to get back into that. It's going to take a long time, though, for him, I think, to get to a bowl game there at UConn. I know the transfer portal is there. I still think it might take – it's a 5-year contract. It might take the whole 5 years for him just to get to a bowl game. But we'll see what happens. Just some coaching hires I wanted to talk about there. So we'll see what happens. But those are my college football coaching hire rankings. Comment down below. Tell me what you think about these hires. I always like hearing from you all. I know the video is kind of a few months late from when they were all hired, but I just want to make sure nothing severe happens. And there's usually a team every year that usually fires a head coach around April. This year it was Hawaii. Last year it was Kansas. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching the video. Hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. McD the Beast signing off.